On page 20 and 21, we are going to look at evaluating expressions. So first of all, expressions are just when you have math without equal signs. So you have operations with numbers, or now in our case, we're going to have variables also. So when you look down at number 1, it says 7x plus 4y. That is an expression. So an algebraic expression is an expression that contains one or more variables. To evaluate, what you have to do is it's going to tell you what your variables are equal to. So you need to plug those in, replace the variables with the numbers. So we call that substitute. So we need to substitute the variables with their given values, then follow the order of operations to get down to our single number for our answer. We will just do the odd ones in this video. If you need to remember the order of operations, first we look for parentheses or any sort of grouping symbols. That could be absolute value, that could be a square root sign. Then we look for exponents, then multiplication and division from left to right. And the very last thing you do, unless it's already in parentheses, is addition and subtraction. So one thing that's helpful when you do these is to put your number that you're substituting in parentheses. So sometimes you can even just rewrite it only wherever the variables are, replace the variables with parentheses, and then go back and put the numbers in. So x is 5 and y is -3. So you need to remember that when two things are right next to each other, you can write the multiplication sign, we just don't. So when you have the 7 and the 5 with parentheses, that means 7 times 5. So we would have 35 plus 4 times -3 is -12, giving us 23 as our final answer. For number 3, it's absolutely necessary to put parentheses around the -2 when you square it. So when we do this, you have to put -2 in parentheses and then the squared on the outside. So again, it's a good idea just to always use parentheses, because then you won't have to worry about, oh, should I or should I not? -2 squared is +4. If you don't have the parentheses around it, it's going to give you -4, which is wrong. Also notice I don't multiply first, I need to do the exponent first. So then this means 4 times 4 is 16, plus 5 times -2 is -10, so I end up with 6 as my final answer. Now, number 5, since there are already parentheses around the a and b, and then it's to the second power, that one's okay to not put all those extra parentheses in there. So you would do parenthesis 3 times 2 squared. -4 parenthesis 2 to the third plus 1. So notice the difference between what we did in number 3, where just the m was squared, and now in number 5, the multiplication of a times b is what's squared. So you do have to multiply first before you do your exponent. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 squared is 36. And I'm going to bring down the minus sign. 2 to the third is 8. 4 times 8 is 32. And then we still have plus 1. So 36 minus 32 plus 1 gives us 5. Number 7. Again, we already have parentheses with the exponent, so I am going to just plug them in without parentheses around them. -4 minus 1 in parentheses squared, plus 2 times 1 minus 7 times -4. -4 minus 1 is -5. In parentheses squared is positive 25. So make sure you keep that -5 in parentheses when you square it. Two times 1 is 2, so plus 2 minus 7 times -4 is -28. You also could see this as a -7 times a -4 and just put a plus sign right away. So 25 plus 2 plus 28 gives us 55 as our final answer. Number 9, we have 3 times c is -3 squared minus -3 times -2 plus 7 times -2 squared. So kind of my rule of thumb is, especially if you have negative numbers, it's just always easier to put those in parentheses. So here, again, we don't multiply those two. We need to do -3 squared, which is positive 9. 3 times 9 is 27. Minus -3 times -2 is 6. So that minus sign is what got brought down. That's positive 6, so it stays -6. Plus -2 squared is positive 4. 7 times 4 is 28. So 27 minus 6 plus 28 gives us 49. We have a big fraction. So again, first things first, just rewrite it. 2 times 3 times 12 is on the top. 7 times 12 minus 3 squared times 12. So remember, when we have a big fraction, you need to get the top all as one number and the bottom as all as one number, and then finally divide. So on the top, that's just all multiplication. 2 times 3 times 7 times 12 gives us 72. So your top number is 72. On the bottom, 7 times 12 is 84. You need to do 3 squared, which is 9. 9 times 12 gives us 108. So on the bottom, we need to do 84 minus 108, and we get -24. So 72 divided by -24 gives us -3 as our final answer. And lastly, 13. 28 minus 4 times -5 squared. You absolutely have to have that -5 in parentheses. X, which is -8, times y, which is -5, minus 2 times -8 squared. So on the top, I'm going to write this in a couple of different steps. 28 minus -5 squared is 25, positive 25. 4 times 25 is 100. So 28 minus 100 is what we're going to be left with on the top. -8 times -5 is 40, minus -8 squared is 64. 2 times 64 is 128. So again, make sure you don't subtract to get 24 or anything like that up here. You have to multiply before you do the subtraction. So now 28 minus 100 gives me negative 72. 40 minus 128 gives me negative 88. So this, if you type it in, is going to give you a decimal. You need to leave it as a simplified fraction. 8 goes into both of those, so 9 over 11. Notice it's positive because a negative divided by a negative becomes a positive. And then finally 15 with our fractions. 3/4 times 2/9 minus 1/6 times -4. And if you really want, you could do -4 over 1 if you want to see it as a fraction. So we're going to do 3/4 times 2/9, and that should give you 1 over 6. Again, if you want to just multiply straight across and get 6 over 36, that's fine. You can just simplify at the very end, or you can simplify right away. You can use your fraction button. Maybe you see 1 and 3, 1 and 2. That's how you get 1/6. Minus -4, 1/6 times -4 should give us -2/3. So again, minus negative, you can change to plus positive if you'd want. You don't have to. You can type it in as minus negative. Our final answer should end up as 5/6.